Hello, everybody. I'm so excited that you can come and listen to this episode of But Why Apostolic. I do want to say before we go into the intro, throughout this episode, I was saying this was episode 10. I made a mistake. This is actually episode 7. So, what I say in the interview, and if the title also is mixed up, it's because I was a little confused there. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed episode 7 of But Why Apostolic. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ian Cashmires, and welcome to episode 10 of But Why Apostolic. Today, we're going to be talking about evangelism today I have with me Brother Aaron Adams. Brother Adams, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Brother Cash, thank you for having me on your podcast here. I'm Aaron Adams. I'm a full-time evangelist based out of Vidor, Texas. We've been evangelizing about 6 years now. And before that, we pastored for 5. And we're just honored to be with you. And thank you for having me on your podcast today.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to have you with us. So, my first question, I want to start off. In your own words, can you tell the people what is an evangelist?
Well, I mean, there's different ideas on that. First of all, an evangelist is reaching for the lost, for the sinner, when he's in a church ministry, but also encouraging saints and reaching for saints that maybe have grown cold or lukewarm, and so you're reaching for them as well, and it's a calling for sure that you want to make sure that's what you're called to do. It's definitely one that you want to know for sure that's what your calling is. Just like with anything, but it's a lot of traveling and on the practical side, and going and just trying to reach and to encourage people.
Yes, sir. So, when we started off, you were telling us about how you've pastored for 5 years. Were you,
Yep.
How should I say this? When did you feel like you should start becoming an evangelist?
Well, like I said, we had assisted my dad for a number of years in the church in Pine Forest, and then we became pastor. That would have probably been about 11 years ago. We pastored for 5 years, and at the end of kind of 5 years, I started I didn't hear a loud booming voice. The church was doing good. Things were going well. But I just felt like the Lord was dealing with me about evangelizing. And I really, honestly, to be honest with you, brother, I didn't want to do it. I enjoyed pastoring. I enjoyed doing what we were doing. We were having success at the church. The church was doing well. So I pushed it away and tried to ignore it. But the Lord has a way of really getting your attention when He wants to, and He did. And so it was. We talked. My dad was still at the church. He was there as in the role of what a lot of churches would call bishop, but he was able to step right back in to pastoring full time the church when we started to evangelize. But that calling to go from pastoring to evangelizing, which now I understand better. I wouldn't say fully, but I understand better what the Lord was doing in getting us to transition from pastor to evangelizing. Since we've been evangelizing, we've been able to see a lot of things and be a part of some awesome things that wouldn't have happened if I was pastoring. So I guess back to your question though, there about um, getting started in evangelizing and how we felt that call. It was just the Lord started to deal with me about it. I don't normally hear a loud, audible voice or anything from the Lord. For me, it just starts off with an impression and from the Lord. And that's what I felt when we first started to evangelize, was just that impression. That's what we were supposed to do. And like I said, at first, I didn't want to do it. I was afraid to do it. I enjoyed being home. I was a homebody, and I knew evangelizing was going to require a lot of traveling. So I kind of resisted it at first. But as I said, the Lord has a way of getting your attention and making sure you hear. So that's why we're doing it. And that's we've been doing it ever since.
Yes.
And enjoy it.
Yes, sir. So you've been a lot of places. Can you give us maybe like one or two? What are some like your favorite things about evangelizing, and some of your like least favorite things, if you don't mind?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I guess my favorite thing about evangelizing is being able to go into so many different churches, be a part of those churches, and just see the Lord work. And I mean, there's nothing like it when you see someone receive the Holy Ghost for the first time, or you see somebody that's been away from the Lord for a long time, they pray back through. That, I mean, is just, to me, there's nothing that compares to that. I mean, that's just, I love it. I enjoy I have so many friends now just from traveling around and being around so many different people and in different churches, and get connected, obviously, to the pastors and their families and all, but even within the churches, you become close to people within the churches. And I enjoy that, being in those different churches. So I would say that's the pro, is getting to meet a lot of people, be around a lot of different churches, a lot of different environments. A pro for me on the ministry side is developing a ministry and learning how to minister in different environments with different people. Sometimes you're in a larger church, sometimes a smaller church, sometimes you're doing outreach programs, you're doing services outside, or you're doing one-on-one outreach or Bible studies, things like that. So to me, in evangelizing, it really kind of develops your skill set in dealing with different people and all of that. The cons to evangelizing, one would be, for me, I wish I could just snap my fingers and be exactly where I needed to be. The travel can sometimes get a little bit tiresome, but it's not terrible. It's like any job that anybody has. There's good and bad things to it, and I wouldn't complain about it really. But that's one of the cons, I guess, is the traveling, and then it's a little bit difficult on my family in traveling. They travel a lot with me, which they enjoy doing. But I mean, Brother Cash, Grant, and he's doing his schoolwork on the road and all that can kind of be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. But it's nothing unbearable compared to what the early church went through, and the early evangelists and all that. I'd say I've got it pretty easy. I'm pretty blessed. I'm thankful.
So you were saying that you travel a lot of places, and most of the time you do travel. Where do you find time to study or preparation for what you're going to preach?
Yeah, when I am home, I take time when I'm home, and dedicate specific time when I'm home to study, just because it's a little bit easier. I have my routines and my way I like to do it when I'm at home. On the road, a lot of times I'm driving. We are blessed to be able to drive a lot of places that we go, so I'm not having to spend a lot of time in airports and all that. So a lot of times when I'm driving, I'm either meditating or listening to the Word. And when I get to where I'm going, something that I've been meditating on or thinking on, I'll find some time to dig into that and try to find my time to pray. That to me is more important than even just spending time just trying to really dig down and study something out. If I will spend time in prayer and time alone with the Lord, that to me is more valuable than study time. That's just for me personally. That's what I really try to focus on. Study, it comes, it kind of, for me, it just comes in spurts, and when I can do it, or like I said, when I'm home, I'll have time to dig into something. But when I'm on the road, my main focus is making sure I've got time for prayer, and then I will study stuff just when I can. We're blessed to have it like we do now on a iPad. You know, I've got all of the concordances and everything I need for study is on my iPad. So I can, once we stop somewhere, I can study pretty quickly and search something out. And now when you're talking about study, you're probably maybe even talking about sermon preparation and things like that. I don't do a tremendous amount of sermon prep in the way of necessarily laying one out, getting one typed out. So I don't have to account for that. I know a lot of people that do, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not pro one way or another, but I don't have to just sit down necessarily and type a sermon out for the way that my ministry operates. So that's just how I do it. But anyway, I hope that answered your question. I don't know if that was what you were looking for, but that's kind of how I do it.
Yes, sir. So this is a personal question that's been on my mind. You have preached at Texas District Camp Meeting, I think in 2024. Can you tell us like what goes into you being able to come and preach at camp meeting?
I mean, I guess for me, when you know you have a date coming up on the calendar that may feel like it's got a little more pressure to it, like a camp meeting or something like that. I'm human, I can't help it. I know when I've got something coming up that may seem a little bit bigger or something. I honestly try not to focus on it too much and just kind of wait as it gets closer and kind of feel the direction that the Lord is directed me for that service. Mm-hmm. And then it's mainly I don't try to because just like with anything, in some ways you can over prepare for something. And so I try my best on something like that, just to keep it calm, keep it on my schedule, just know it's coming up, but don't overthink it. Yeah. And then when I go, I probably felt, more nervous or something in a situation like that going into it. But once you get up there and once you start flowing and you feel the anointing and the Lord's helping you, it just it's like any other service. It's not that big of a deal. It's mainly the build up to it that you're trying to get through. Once you get up there and get in it, you're going to be fine. And it's just, for me, it's just kind of the build up to something a lot of times that you battle with in your mind and in your preparation. Once you get up there, it's for me, it's like any other service. But it's the battle of the mind until you get up there and get in that flow, that you struggle with.
Yes, sir. So you've been to a lot of churches, you've seen a lot of things, a lot of people. Give us one of your funniest, or one or two of your funniest moments in your ministry.
Well, I'll give you one that's kind of funny in the way that you prepare your ministry and your preaching, and you put your life into it. And I had preached at the church, and the Lord had really moved. We'd had just a great move. The Lord really helped us. And after service, I was down on the front and I was talking to some people, and this older lady, she came up and she absolutely meant it as a compliment, but the way she said it was so funny. She said, Brother Adam, she said, I just wanted to come tell you, she said, I enjoy your preaching. It is so simple. Like, it's just like, you tried to say it's easy to understand and we can relate, but It made it the way that she said it made it sound like that it's just so basic and so easy and all, which is what I want. I want people to be able to understand it. But the way she said it was comical, and it was pretty funny. I had another incident at a church where it was down. Altar call was going on. People were praying and all that. I had a man that came up. He said he wanted me to anoint him with the oil and to pray for him. So I turned around to go get the oil to pray for him. I thought he had a, sickness or something that he was wanting us to pray about. And he said, no. He said, I've got my own bottle of oil. And he had brought himself a towel. And he wanted me to take the oil and pour it over him in the altar. And I said, hey, brother, I said, I'm not into that. I said, I don't do that. I said, hey, you can talk to your pastor maybe about doing that if that's what you want to do. But that was one that was funny to me. It just caught me off guard. I'd never had anybody hand me this. It was I don't know. It was probably half a gallon of oil that he had prepared and gotten ready to be anointed there. And that one was one that was pretty funny to me. And, I thought was pretty funny.
Yes, sir. So, coming to the end of this podcast, if there's some people who are listening and they feel called to be an evangelist, what are some encouraging words or some steps or things that could help them?
Sure, I would definitely say, number one, give yourself to prayer and to studying the Word. That's the absolute number one. If you feel called to any type of ministry, that's what I would say is give yourself to prayer and to studying the Word. The doors will open. The doors for preaching or whatever it would be, evangelizing, Bible studies. Anybody that's wanting to evangelize, I would highly recommend teaching Bible studies in your local church, getting involved in your local church and doing things like that. The doors for ministry that'll open, God will open those doors when it's time for them to open. You don't want to try to force them open. But if you'll give yourself to prayer, to studying the Word, God sees it, God knows it, and He'll open those doors for those that are willing to be in any type of ministry, but especially those that are wanting to be in evangelism. I would say focus on evangelizing in your own local church, reaching out in your own local church. When that starts to happen, the doors to ministry in other churches and other avenues, those will open. The Lord will open those doors, but you've got to do it where you're at. And yes, I would focus on that, reaching to people in your local church.
Yes, sir. Well, Brother Adams, I thank you so much for being on this podcast. And I thank everybody who is listening to this episode. We'll be back again with episode 8 actually in August. So until next time, thank everybody for listening and God bless.